Okay, folks, here I am. My name is Rocky, and my wife calls me a cheap mechanic, meaning that I don't like to pay anybody to do something that I can do myself. So, working on this 1999 National RV, we've had this truck, this Class A, for almost 2.5 years, 3 years. And in my time that we've owned this, we've done almost 22,000 miles on this truck. We've been from Connecticut out to Wyoming, down to Arizona, to Utah. We have been all over the country. We've taken a trip down to Florida with this guy. We've gone to Alabama. We've been through Tennessee. We've been through Kentucky. And there's only a couple places that we haven't been to, and that's going to be far west. And hopefully we'll get there one of these days with this guy right here. The Seabreeze 1999. Now you're going to see that it's a little dirty because it's been sitting in the driveway for the last 9 months. Well, what brings me today is going to be, I get in the truck and then all of a sudden I, cleaning the refrigerator and making sure the bathroom is clean and going ahead and getting my pre-trip ready. I've checked the batteries and I've gone ahead and started checking, making sure that everything was good. Well, what happened is that I go ahead and if this is a little choppy, it's because it's my first time doing this. But as we have right here is that, it's in the chaos of being cleaned before we take our trip. Well, what I have going on is that when I put the key in the ignition, if you can see, the wipers are running. Didn't have that problem when I shut this truck down 7 or 8 months ago, but for some reason I can't get the wipers to shut off. Well, that brings me to the next point where I have gone ahead and looked on YouTube, looked for all of the information that I could on this 1999 National, what I could find on the Ford chassis. Well, make a long story short, this is what's happened. Along with taking the wiper motor out of the nose of this unit to check the contacts, because those were some of the things that were mentioned. But what I did here was go ahead and I took, because the 1999 to 2004 F-150s, F-250s, F-450s, I had what they call a GEM module. General Electronic Module, G-E-M. And you'll hear of that when you check out YouTube, but there was nothing here for this F-53 chassis Ford. Okay, well what I did is you're going to see that I went looking for this GEM module. Can you see that I have taken the entire dashboard apart, and I've gone ahead and I've taken the fuse panel down, because that's where that GEM module is located. But what I didn't find was the GEM module. Well, going crazy, I went under the dashboard of the truck looking for it. As you can see, we have got a ton of wires back there. They're all nicely color-coded. I disconnected the dash. I got the book out here to check my fuses. I checked the panel. I got a real nice, typical day before I go ahead and, because I refuse to pay somebody to do this. Well, I hope that all came out for you, because what happened here is that as I was checking around looking for the little GEM, and if you notice this little guy right here, that's my brake controller for my my Toad. Okay, it usually sits up here. It's got the little plug that goes in the lighter. Everything's good. But what I found was way down here by the gas pedal. If you look all the way in here, this is going to be a little module. And I says, well, let me check it out. Well, I go ahead and I checked it out. And I took these numbers right there, the YC5, the YC2T, and I did my good old eBay search engine for this module. And guess what they come up with on eBay? It's called a wiper control module. Well, only because as I do a little bit more searching on this module, this little guy right here, what I find is that it's on an F450, F350, F250, F150 Econoline. Not thinking that, you know, this chassis doesn't cross over to a pickup truck. So, I could have bought it on eBay for $84, $79, $129. I could have paid as much as $187 on eBay. I went on Napa. They were the highest, $215. Well, actually, it was $216, and I had to wait another 2 days before I got this little module. So, it's got little wires, little connectors there. See them right there? And, you know, it's got no mark. I mean, it's got some basic markings. The Dorman number for this little guy is going to be 190-151. I even researched that on O'Reilly's and AutoZone, and again, I was going to have to wait for this little gadget to come in. So I take a ride down, my favorite place, Pull Apart. Well, I went down to the Pull Apart, went looking for the E350 van that they had parked out in the yard, and I went out and I had to go find it. I had to find the part because it wasn't on the floorboard by the accelerator pedal like it is on the RV. What I found is that when I went looking is that I had to take the engine cover off of the Econoline, and it was right up underneath in this area here of the Econoline. Well, I took that little relay out, unplugged it, went over to the counter, asked the guy, I said, okay, how much do I owe you? He said, $10. But I'm going to have to collect some sales tax from you. He said 64 cents for the state of Connecticut for their sales tax. I said, well, 64 cents. I says, if I ask for a plastic bag, will you give me a plastic bag for 10 cents? He says, no, we don't do plastic bags. We're not giving the state any more money than we need to. But anyway, that's the politics of the state of Connecticut here. Well, anyway, I get home, and I go ahead, and I take this module. I unsnap the old one, and if you can see, I just pull it out, pull it, and then I can, hopefully you're getting this. You depress that little tab right there, and you pull and unsnap. Well, by the book, we probably should have gone ahead and disconnected the battery. But, you know what? I'm too dang impatient. And I figured for 10 bucks, what the heck. So I go ahead and I put that little guy back in there. And I find the tabs that it goes on. I'm going to snap it in. Okay, maybe I won't because I have a hand on the telephone and a hand on the there. Well, anyway, you get the idea that I need two hands to go ahead and align the tabs. And I would go ahead and push that back in. I would go ahead and take this little piece of carpeting and cover it up so it looks all nice and neat. I'll have to put some two-sided tape on that. And then what happens is I go ahead and I want to test my system. As you saw before, when I put the key on, the wipers went on. Well, when I keyed off, the wiper stuck in one spot. Well, now with this new wiper control switch, look at that. It parks. Intermittent works. Nice, isn't that? And then it goes low speed and high speed. All for about $10 for a used part. And about, I'd have to say about 5 hours of a real pain in the neck job. Because I will tell you that before I got to that module, I did the normal troubleshooting. I did check the fuse panel. I found that the 30 amp fuse was dead or blown, so I put a new fuse in, and that's when I found out that the wipers were going to be just moving back and forth. Well, if you'd like to see a little bit more of what I had to deal with in here, here's your wiper motor. Up in here is the mount. There's 2 bolts here, 2 bolts up here. There's 4 bolts up on this mount that bolt it to the bulkhead. Unfortunately, the nuts up on top of the bulkhead do not have any locks on them, so they will spin. So you go ahead and you put a pair of small vice grips on the stud, walk the nut down. My suggestion is go ahead and use a little bit of WD-40 to make sure that you've got a nice nut coming down, and everything's nice and smooth. The only thing that I did wrong here is that when I was checking my motor, I did look at the motor, I took it down, I looked in there is a clocking wheel. There's 3 contacts in there, there's grease. You take the 3 screws out, go ahead and open it up, check the grease. You look at the clocking wheel, there are 3 contacts that come down on the wheel, and you want to make sure that they're going to be in contact with the, go ahead and make sure that they're in contact with the wheel. Well, when I put it all back together, unfortunately what I did wrong is that I didn't line the wiper control to the motor. So what I had when I went to fire this all up was that I had the wipers parking way out here. So I knew that I was 180 degrees off of my motor. Go ahead with a 13mm 12-point wrench, take the nut off of the motor, and then you can go ahead and pull that crank bar off of the motor, and then you go ahead and put it back on, torque it down nicely. But again, if this video helps, because like I said, I didn't find anything on this National. I have done other work on this National. I've rebuilt the engine. I had to replace the generator engine. I also did a field strip in a driveway in Alabama when the brush holder went bad. I've replaced the hot water heater tank because I didn't winterize it properly my first year. So that was a nice surprise in March when I went and thawed this thing out to go to Florida. And again, there are things that I have done on this truck because I am a mechanic. I am ASE certified, old school, and I was an instructor for going on 16 years at a major trade school in Arizona. So, if you have any thoughts, any questions, by all means, give me a call. Thanks a lot. Take it easy. Bye-bye.